Coach Zach here, going over the nutrition fundamentals. This training video is going to break down exactly how I set up each and every one of my clients' nutrition plans from the back end. So if you follow each and every one of these steps, you're going to know exactly how to start your nutrition plan off with great success, right? So we're going to dive right into it here. Most diets fail because they're unsustainable. They focus on over-restricting, and if you over-restrict, that's going to signal to your body to binge. And if you stay on this binge restrict cycle, you're never going to be able to break through that and actually be able to be consistent long enough to see the best results from your efforts, right? So what we want to do is find more of a 80-20 balance, and we're going to do that by knowing what the fundamental rules are around nutrition, sticking to those fundamental rules 80% of the time, and then allowing for 10-20% of the time to enjoy some of the foods that we really love to enjoy, right? So the 5 basic rules here are going to be 1, your protein, 2, your fruits and veggies, 3, your healthy fats, 4, your carbohydrates, and 5, your portion sizes and timing, right? So once we understand all of those and how much of those things that you need to intake, the portion size and the timing, you're going to be able to have a lot of flexibility around those 5 rules. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out how many calories do you actually need to intake. This is step 1 in the introduction before we even get to that first rule, because we need to know how much total we have before we can start to break down the components individually, right? We'll come back to this total amount in your portion size and timing a little bit later. But in general here, you're going to find out what is your general activity level. Sedentary, we'll say if you're getting about 4,000 steps or less per day. Moderate, maybe 5,000 to 8,000 steps per day. And high is like 9,000, 10,000 or more steps per day. That's pretty active, right? Then you're going to select your goal, right? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to maintain weight and do more of a body recomposition? Or are you trying to gain weight and build muscle and strength? Then you're going to multiply by these ranges here, and that should give you a really good starting point. You're going to stick with that a couple weeks, track your progress. If you're losing weight, staying the same, gaining weight, you know you need to make some adjustments up or down depending on what your goals are, right? So generally, we're going to get a starting point from there. We can always come back and change it later on. All right, so we're going to get now to our first fundamental rule, which is protein. Protein is the basis for all the structures in the body, right? All of your muscles, your bones, connective tissue, organs, all of those things. Protein is going to help all of those tissues build back and be healthy and have quality tissue fibers, so that you don't feel beat up and sore and achy or at higher risk for injury or things like that. So getting too little protein, especially if you're active, can lead to muscle tissues breaking down further and further and losing strength, and then eventually affecting your metabolism, your metabolic rate. Right? Having a lot of muscle takes a lot of calories, so the more muscle you have, the more calories you actually burn at rest, and the more calories and carbohydrates you can actually store without it getting converted into body fat. So getting protein is going to be one of those things that are really helpful for keeping your muscle mass. Protein also takes the longest to break down out of all the macronutrients, fats and carbohydrates. So it's going to stabilize your blood sugar, which means it's going to really reduce cravings and help you not overeat other foods. So we want to make sure you have protein in at every meal so that you're not overeating and getting cravings for other foods. So protein is really important for those couple of reasons right off the bat, right? It's going to give you better energy, better lean tissue, and help you fight against cravings. And we'll keep going here. So how much protein do we need to get? So I like to say about 1 gram per pound of your body weight as a good starting point. If you're really far away from that, you can kind of 1 portion size at a time work on getting a little bit more protein until you get eventually towards that range or close to it, right? Then you're going to break that up throughout the day. I think if you could space that out as evenly as possible through the day, it's going to feel like the best fit for you. But you're going to figure out then what your favorite protein portions or favorite protein options are. And then you're going to figure out what is the portion size per those portions of protein or per those types of protein that you're going to need for your meals and your snacks, right? Then you're going to just backtrack that and figure out, okay, how much protein then do I need to purchase between or for the entire week. All right, so if you go through all those steps and get it out, you'll actually figure out how much you need to shop for, and then you can break it down from there even more, step by step. So here is a list of a bunch of different proteins, some of the most common ones. Their serving size, which will give you about 20 to 25 grams of protein, and then any quality considerations that you might want to consider in terms of getting like a higher quality versus like a lower quality type of thing, right? So a couple examples: fish, 5 to 6 ounces of raw fish is going to be about this serving size here, right? Some fish have a little less protein than, for example, like chicken, which you'll be able to get that same protein out of 4 ounces. Beef, especially if it's a little bit higher in fat, for maybe 5 ounces, right? And then, wild caught is going to be best for fish if you can. Organic meats are going to be the best, especially if they're going to be free range or grass fed and things like that, right? So you're just going to want to pick out your top protein sources and then keep those stocked up for the future. Rule number 2, your fruits and your veggies. So once you have your protein down and you feel like you're getting enough protein, now we're going to go to your fruits and veggies. Okay, so why are fruits and veggies so important? They're going to give you a lot of vitamins and minerals. They're going to give you a lot of fiber, and all those things are going to give you energy. Fiber especially is going to slow down the rate at which food is broken down in your gut, which is really helpful for sustaining longer energy bouts, so you can go longer without eating food and getting really hungry and getting those bad cravings. It's also going to be really good for your gut health. All of the microbiome in your gut, the bacteria and everything, they thrive on eating fiber. And if they don't have enough fiber, they can start to actually break down the lining of your gut. So you're going to want to make sure that you give all of those microbacteria the right types of foods so that they can stay strong and break down other foods instead of break down your gut lining. All right, so fruits and vegetables are going to be a really, really good source of that. Fruits are going to have some carbohydrates and sugars more than vegetables, but so will starchy vegetables like potatoes and things like that. So you're going to want to pick your top few fruits and vegetables for yourself and just keep those stocked up at the same time like you do with protein. And then you're going to figure out like what's the total portion size for these. Approximately, you're going to want to get 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables per 1,000 calories that you eat, right? So that's going to be a minimum of 4 servings per day, but really it should be 4 to 8 or even more. Ideally, getting about 30 to 50 grams of fiber per day, and most Americans are getting about 8 to 10 grams of fiber per day. So really need to work on getting more fiber, more servings of fruits and vegetables will really help out with that. So about one vegetable that's chopped up is about a kind of fistful size, open fistful if you grab a fistful, or about a cup of chopped fruit or chopped vegetables. And then if you're doing fruit, about a half a cup of fruit that is not as high fiber, such as kiwi, pineapple, mango. Those are a little bit higher in carbohydrates and sugars, versus something like melons or berries, which are going to be melons much higher in water content, berries much higher in fiber content. So that is more like a full cup or full fist size can be a portion. So you're just going to want to pick out your favorites, familiarize yourself with what the actual portions are, and then make sure you're getting enough per week so that you have the amount that you need for the week. Right, so here are some great ones that you can look into. Here are your vegetables up here. So you're just going to want to go through and pick out, if you can get the most kind of color on your plate, that's kind of what we're looking for. Colors represent different vitamins and minerals that are in the foods, right? So different foods that tend to be green have a certain kind of vitamin and mineral versus white versus red versus purple, right? They all have a different profile of vitamins and minerals. So getting kind of a rainbow color on your plate will help you make sure you're not going to lack in any of those vitamins or minerals. Same thing with fruits here. Now you can break this up into foods that are a little bit higher fiber and or lower calorie, and then ones that are a little bit higher in carbohydrates, higher in sugars, things like that, like pineapples, apples, bananas, kiwi, plums, peaches, dates, those kind of things. Not that those are bad, just so that you know, hey, if you want to go into a calorie deficit and you want to make some easy swaps, instead of eating pineapple, we're going to swap that for strawberries, and we can have the same volume of food, and it actually ends up being less calories. So knowing some of those things, you could use it to your advantage to make dieting easier if and when you're ready to do that. 3, healthy fats. So fats have been wrongfully blamed for making people fat, but you'll also hear people going on a keto diet. You'll hear people going on a low carb diet. So what's really the deal here? Fats are essential to life. We need them in order to absorb vitamins and minerals. We need them to actually create healthy cell walls. We need them for brain tissue, things like that. So it's important for hormone production. So it's really, really important for our recovery, for our overall health. But they're very calorie dense. 1 gram of fat has 9 calories in it, compared to protein and carbs, which only have 4 calories per gram. So that's going to mean that you can more easily overeat fats. And then especially if you consider the fact that most fats, when you actually look at them, don't look like a lot of food. It doesn't look like you're adding anything to it. Think about if you were to add a potato to a plate versus adding a tablespoon of oil onto, your salad. You're going to very easily be able to see that potato and estimate how much is in that, right? How many nutrients or how many calories is in that versus the tablespoon of fat that you pour on your salad. It's a lot harder to see that and estimate how much that is because it spreads out and kind of gets incorporated into the rest of the food. So it's really, really easy to overdo fats. Most of the time when people are talking about foods that are high carb that they want to eat, they're actually high fats food. Cookies, pastries, cakes, those kind of things are actually much higher in calories from fats than calories from carbohydrates. But it's often the combination of a high carb and high fat food together that makes the calories go way up and doesn't fill you up a lot. So it makes it really easy to overeat. All right, so we need a little bit of fat, the right types, but a little bit goes a long way, and we just don't want to overeat fats, and that can happen pretty easily if we're not being mindful of it, right? So there are certain fats that you want to prioritize more. Some that you can eat some of, and then there are definitely some that you want to try and eat less of if you can. So you're going to pick some fats from this left column here as much as you can. Familiarize yourself with the serving size, and then you're just going to want to make sure you're not going over half your body weight in fats. That's going to give you plenty of what you need. And if you're going over half your body weight in fats, it's probably just adding a lot more calories to your diet than you need to, and you're just going to want to look for where that's coming from and reduce that little by little if you can, right? So these are some healthier fats that are going to be more anti-inflammatory, and then down on this one are going to be some fats that are going to be a little bit more highly inflammatory, and if you eat a lot of them, you're going to kind of feel that effect, right? These are going to be kind of more your fried foods and processed foods kind of thing, and these will be more of your healthy fats like olives, olive oil, aged cheese, yolks, those kind of things. Right? Number 4, carbohydrates. Super controversial topic here, right? Again, just like fats, you'll hear some people saying carbs are the devil, and you have some people say carbs are the best, right? Carbohydrates technically are not needed for the body to survive, although your body does prefer to break down carbohydrates for energy. It's very simple for your body to break them down. So carbs can be thought of as complex and simple. Complex carbohydrates are the ones that are more of your like whole foods, higher in fiber, fruits, starchy vegetables, whole grains. They're going to be slower to digest, and that's going to help stabilize your blood sugar, just like protein does. Simple carbohydrates like sugars and refined flours and things like that lack fiber. They lack vitamins and minerals. They're usually stripped of all those things and processed. And that allows the body to get a lot of calories and energy quickly. And it usually goes to blood sugar, and then if it's not used pretty quickly thereafter, it will get stored as fat, right? So we're going to want to most of the time prioritize getting carbohydrates from some of those more complex carbohydrate sources, but still be able to enjoy some of those simple carbohydrates, especially if we're more active, especially around training time, because they can actually help fuel a good training session and help you recover more quickly from a training session. So that should be a part of your plan. It's just a matter of what's the balance going to be, right? So like I said before, during strength training, if you're strength training primarily, you can get some extra carbs around your strength training, and then in the evening time as well, because carbohydrates actually are are converted into serotonin, which is then converted into melatonin. We all know melatonin helps us go to sleep. A lot of people supplement with it, but if you want to more naturally produce melatonin, you just have some carbohydrates in the evening time, and that will really help that process and help your normal kind of hormonal rhythm sync up and help you go to sleep. All right. So for your carbohydrate needs, you're going to pick your following, your favorite carbohydrates, get used to the portion sizes, and then figure out where you're going to stack those carbohydrates so that you feel the best, right? Especially if you're going on a little bit lower carb of a diet, you can stack those carbohydrates around your training time and in the evening. If you're going fat loss, you're going to want more carbs, higher in fiber, and then, in general, higher fiber, lower calorie foods, berries, melons, oatmeal, those kind of things. For muscle gain, you want to still get those fiber in, but you can add in a lot more simple carbohydrates to get a lot more food and calories in without filling up too much. All right, so here's a list of all of those different carbohydrates, or a good bit of them, so that you can get an idea of what are going to be the high fiber ones, kind of the semi high carbohydrate and dense calorie options, and then the ones that are going to be mostly just really quick, simple sugars for you, right? So you can kind of get an idea of where do you want to lie in that spectrum. The last rule here, once you get all those down and you're getting the right amount of proteins, right amount of fruits and vegetables, the right amount of fats, the right amount of carbohydrates, you can start to play more with the portion size and timing. So once you've kind of generally got these things down, that's where you can start to figure out what's going to optimize all of this and make it feel even better for you. So can you get a little bit more protein? Do we need to reduce the portion size of the carbohydrates more? Do we need to switch the carbohydrates from the morning to more around your training and more in the evening? Do we need to eat fewer meals that are bigger, or do we need to eat more frequent meals that are smaller, right? How does that fit into your lifestyle and things like that? So we can start to play around with some of those things that can help you be more consistent in getting the first four rules down. So this can come into play in terms of how much food and what time constraints do you have based on your schedule, right? So you can start to piece together what your day is going to look like, and then how the portion sizes of your meals and or snacks might need to vary around those times of the day, so that you can fit all of this into your lifestyle and stop trying to follow a plan that doesn't actually work for you, right? So this would be an example of what you could adjust here based on the timing through the day. So during breakfast, you could do a higher protein, moderate to low carb, and a little bit higher fat and fiber. Lunch, you could do moderate protein, moderate to low carb, right? Moderate, high fat and high fiber. Dinner could be higher carb, higher fat. And then during your pre-post workout can be mostly like protein and carb, very little to no fat. So it really just depends on what your day looks like, and you can kind of swing some of these things around depending on if you're working out early, if you're working out later, if you're working out in the middle of the day. So that's going to be really individualized, and will have to come down to the context of you as the individual. So that is summing it all up and putting it all together. So start with these 5 steps. It's not going to be perfect to start. Even when I put all this together for a client, it's not a perfect fit right off the bat, but we get pretty much 70-80% of the way there, and then we continue to adjust and modify depending on the lifestyle, depending on the food options that someone may or may not like, depending on the time someone has to prep food, or if they have to get it, if they have to batch cook, if they have to get meal prep, right? Things like that. So start here and then continue to see the process, come back to this and make adjustments on things, because that's how you customize everything and make it work for the context of you. Thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully this helped. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already for more content just like this to help you guys out with fat loss, with muscle building, and with boosting your natural energy levels.